All right, good morning, Advanced Multimedia. This is a video about how to make a counting script. And I'm basing this off of the script here I've got, which I did for a short news piece I did for San Diego High School's Baylor News about a baseball tournament we had this summer, a baseball playoff game. And so what happens here is what it does is it sort of, so it's kind of rough and lax in formatting, but here's what I wrote, here's how many words are in it, and here's the seconds it takes to say that. And then it gives me a total time up here. So I was using this to determine how long it would take me to say the thing, and then based on that, how much content did I need to use from the shots I got from the game to build the piece up. So my end piece wound up being about 1.5 to 2 minutes long, based on this piece of script, and I was able to use this to shorten or lengthen parts to match certain parts of my shots. So let's take a look at how to build this. And the first thing I'm going to do is name up my scripts or my columns, and start from scratch. This is another attempt I did earlier and it didn't work. So I'll delete those and these two. So I got nothing. So I'm starting from scratch. I'm going to go to row 2. Now row 2 is where we're going to put our headings and our labels, but at the top row we're going to eventually have some total time. So let's put total time in cell C1. So let's go to total time, colon, and I'm going to put this as being right justified. That's right, justified. So I'm going to take these 2 rows here. I'm going to say let's do the video, audio, words, time. So if I take these and I build that up, what I can do is, let's go ahead and change the formatting. The purpose here is visual. So styling and visual things and formatting all help us determine how easy it is to see. Visual things, even in written documents, are really important in terms of how we work. So the next thing we do is I'm going to make video and audio just a little wider. Maybe like that. That's probably too much. Done it. Let's just make it a little bit less wide. Okay. So I'm going to do this. And so you can build these up as narrow as you want. And I did that by selecting the 2 columns at the headings to make those work together to change the width. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go find the Words to House, the New Rising Sun by The Animals. Great song. Came out in the 60s, really interesting band. Copy. Now, notice this has got a black background on it. So if I go paste this in my script, it's going to bring that with it. I'm like, no, it's not what I wanted. And if I put it there, it's still bad. So what we do is we right-click, we choose Paste Special, Values Only, or Control-Shift-V. And that allows it to show up just the text. Now, if your columns are narrower, which I had earlier in the previous iteration of this video, it exceeds the section. So what you can do, you should do this anyways, even if nothing looks like it does overlap, is you go back to this menu here, and you may not have to click into a smaller menu to get that. My screen is narrow right now, so I lost that section. So you do text wrapping and set this to wrap. That's overflow, that's clip. We're going to do wrap. So now it does this. And of course, if I make this wider, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a lot of text in there, if you have a long line, as I think I do on this one, you can see why it's important to wrap the text. Because if you're writing lots of stuff, we want to be able to see it all. Otherwise, what's the point of a script if you can't see all the words, right? All right, let's get back to this one. So we're going to do some math. There's actually a formula we're going to use. And the formula is like this. It's right there. So get this zoomed up a bit so you can see it better. But it's if B2 equals nothing. Now these quotation marks have not even a space between them because we want to say if this is empty, leave it empty. And then use this formula here to determine how many words are in there. So count A is a formula which figures out how many things are in this parentheses. And so if there's a list, it'll give you a list. Now the list is based on splitting everything in this box by space. So this quotation mark has an actual space between it, where these do not have a space. So if you put a space on those, it'll be bad because it won't work. We want to figure out if the cell's actually empty. And if it is, break it up based on spaces in the formula. So let's go build that. We're going to write it up one piece at a time. So we say equals, what is it? Equals if, it's conditional. We say if this equals nothing, which is quotation, then comma, quotation, we got this. And then another comma says, well, if that's not true, then do the next thing. So the next thing is going to be look like it's count if or count A, and count A, and then we say, we should have to go with that, that's not right. Count A, it's count A and then split. So count A, and I'm inside the parentheses, we say split the stuff inside the parentheses by, let's go back and look at my example. Okay, so split the stuff in here by quotation with space in the middle. And now I've got 3 sets of left parentheses, 1, 2, 3. So now I'm ready to close 1, 2, 3 right parentheses. That's the third one. So now what it does, as you can see, is it figures out how many words. So I drag this down, and you'll notice that the ones with this still has the formula in there. It says if there's nothing in there, don't give me a number, because I don't want to see it. It's going to confuse me. So only give me a number if there's text in there. So for example, if I go get another line here, copy these in there, I'm going to get, paste this, Control-Shift-V, it adds the numbers based on that. So the next thing that we want to be able to do is determine how long should it take us to be able to read that based on 150 words per minute of reading. So if we do this, we say we're going to say another formula, equal sign, and we're going to say if this is empty by saying quotation, quotation, then we'll leave it empty, quotation, quotation. Otherwise, we're going to use a formula of taking this amount and dividing it by 150. Now, if we just stop there, what gives us percentage? So that's like 4.5% of a minute. So what we really want to do is turn that percentage into seconds by multiplying that quotient by 60. So we multiply a percentage of a minute by 60 and we get seconds. So there we got this, and there we go. And then the total time is going to be equal to the sum of this, which equals sum of that column in seconds. Now that gives us seconds, but what if we're going to wind up with more than a minute of speaking? We have a script that has much more time in it. Well, then what you do is you're going to use that number, that sum, and divide it by this huge number, 86,400. Now 86,400 is the number of seconds in a day, I think it is. So it's 60 times 60 times 24. Let's see if that's right. Calculator, here we go. So 60 times 60 times 24. And that gives us 86,400. So what this does is it's going to give us a formula return. It's actually going to give us a decimal. Kind of a pain in the neck. So I'm going to take this, I want that to show up as a duration. So we go to format, we choose number, and we do duration. And we do that part last. So change the format of it last, otherwise you'll get weird results. So now if I keep adding stuff in here, that number will change. And keep in mind, however, that Sheets does not spell check. Get this number, keep pulling that down, it keeps giving this number. So it'll stay empty, and you can always pull down more copies of this by doing the fill handle. In this case, it's not going to show up until I have content in the audio column. So that's how you make this 2-column script. You can be doing this all year. We're going to keep practicing them, and they're going to get better at it. So you might not get it nailed the first time. The smart thing, here's a cheat note, the smart thing is to make a template of this and keep it, and then use it whenever you need to. That's what I do. I can always rebuild this if I look for the information, but what I do is I tend to keep a couple copies of it around to use as a template to use whenever I want to. Good habits. I'll see you soon. Rock on.